How many deals have you locked up in the last 2 months?
I think it's been 9, and I'm 2 more, hopefully by the end of today. Hopefully by the end of today.
From East LA to the hills of Rancho Cucamonga, I'm gonna show you how I went from being broke to being rich.
I'm here with Brittany Loya. She is one of my killers in our real estate acquisitions department. She's been with me for a couple months now.
About 2 months now.
About 2 months now. So she is a California native, my kind of girl, California girl. She's actually born and raised in Rancho Cucamonga, the town that I currently live in. Or you were born in Redondo Beach. Mm-hmm. So Orange County. Is that our Orange County?
No, it's LA County.
It's LA County.
It's LA County.
Beachside.
But I was brought straight from the hospital back to Rancho, so that was short-lived.
And our office is here in Upland. You just moved to Upland a year ago. Mm-hmm. So coincidence? I think not.
Yeah, no. I think all the stars kind of aligned at the right place and the right time.
It was meant to happen. So we're talking about your education. You went to school. You didn't go to a private school in high school, did you? Mm-hmm. It was a private school?
I'm going to sound real spoiled right now, but I've never stepped foot in a public school.
Yuck.
I know, I know.
Ew. Now, what school was it?
I went to Webb for high school. The Webb schools.
Okay. I'm not familiar.
Okay.
I grew up in public education. And then you said after high school.
Then I went to college, straight into college.
What college?
St. Mary's in the East Bay. Go Gales. But, and that's where I studied politics and history. Okay.
All right. Let's talk about your education a little bit. So what exactly did you specialize in, and what did you get? What was your degree?
Okay. So basically, my 4 years of undergrad, I studied political science that was focused more like on international relations and also American politics. And then my history side degree was focused on American U.S. history and pretty much kind of the post-revolutionary era of U.S. history.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So strong on history and politics. Mm-hmm. And what was your degree?
Political science. One of my bachelor's is political science. The other one is history. And then after that, I went and pursued a master's degree for another 2 years. So
what did you specialize in? What did you major in on your master's?
International trade policy.
Okay. All right. So what year did you graduate? And then what did you do after that? Did you go straight into politics?
So basically, I graduated, let's see, was it 2010 from undergrad, 2013 from graduate school. And then I basically did a lot of local city municipal government work for like a year or two. Again, that's still when the economy was kind of on the rebound from the crash in 2008. So a lot of people weren't hiring, and the U.S. government wasn't hiring. Okay. They were having a hiring freeze. And so I was doing that for about 2 to 3 years, and then the opportunity opened up for me to join potentially the British government because they were hiring in their local Los Angeles consulate. And so that's where I threw my resume in,
Your stepping stone.
Yeah, and that's kind
2008.
No, 2013. 2013, yeah.
Okay. So what exactly did you do for them?
Yeah, well, this is always
because you were there
7 years, exactly. It's funny. I put in my resignation letter exactly on my anniversary of 7 years.
That's tough to do.
It was, but it wasn't. It was just, again, like people are always transforming and evolving, and it was just part of that phase. Yeah. Like that phase, that chapter was over, so that's why I was like fine with doing it. But when I was there, I did a few different roles. So in the beginning, I was doing business development for them on the automotive sector. So I led all of the like trade activities and investment activities for the automotive sector on the West Coast. So all like, I guess you say 11 states on the West Coast. And I would help attract business, American automotive companies to have a presence in the UK. And then I would help also UK companies that are looking to export and find buyers here in the US. I would help them do that as well. So the first 3 to 4 years, that's all I did. That was all I did, was just working with automotive. So it was, I mean, it was a blast. I mean, you got to take McLarens on the track, and then all the manufacturing facilities, Aston Martin, Rolls-Royce, Bentley, all of the big names, Jaguar, Land Rover, worked with all of them. Also, whenever they had an issue, like let's say with their emissions or regulations, those type of things, we would lobby then to either the state government in Sacramento or to DC if need be. So that was basically what I did in a nutshell, and then traveled, of course, all over the world, which was like a huge perk.
How long did you do all that for?
That part of the role, 4 years. 4 years. It was the first 4 years I was there.
What did you do after that, the last 3 years?
So then the last 3 years, in that position, it was different departments that I worked for in them with the British government. So once Brexit happened and the UK left the EU, then they started needing folks that could help negotiate and vouch for them to create a free trade agreement with the United States, kind of like NAFTA or USMCA that most of the people here are aware of. And so that's where then from that position, I was promoted into the new role, covering again all of the West Coast and leading all of the policy strategy for like senior stakeholders, government stakeholders, and so forth on how we're going to get our two countries' economies aligned.
Wow. That's interesting and exhausting at the same time.
Very long, drawn-out processes, yeah.
All right. So let me ask you about, and this is a topic that I don't like to discuss at all. It's just kind of against my, it's against my rules of being a public figure or in the public eye as a businessman. It's against my personal rules, but I don't like to discuss politics. But let me ask you, are you pretty involved in American politics?
I have my strong thoughts, I guess you could say.
Like me, I have my strong opinions. I don't express them. I don't voice them. I don't make them public because there's no need for it. I guess those disagreements don't lead to anything good. So I don't voice my opinions. It's
being in the world of creating policy and actually being at the table where you see it's being written and you understand the many layers of it. It's very hard for me because I've always now been trained to see both sides of the argument. So you can yell and scream in one direction or another, but there's always much more to it. So I don't get too involved in like our local, politics or too outspoken there just because I understand.
You just observe and you have your personal opinion of each side.
Yeah,
basically.
And there's so many layers to it.
Yeah.
There's so many layers.
All right. That's a great answer. That's fair enough. So let's move on to real estate. How did you discover real estate investing? How did you stumble on it? Did you have your eye on it? Did somebody introduce you to it? How did you get involved?
Well, this is, where it's really interesting and I think this is where COVID kind of turned out to be a blessing in disguise for me. Obviously I got COVID, been over, and I know a lot of people suffered through it, but the actual of the lockdown and the time to really force yourself to stop and think, that's kind of what propelled me forward. So in like my previous role, like I was just saying, I was constantly traveling, sometimes maybe 5-6 flights a week, all different places, international flights, so always jet lagged, that kind of thing, just constant go. I couldn't even think of what was happening in the future. It was just like running and existing and putting out the next fire, wherever that might be. Well, when COVID happened, obviously everything stopped. All the travel stopped, all my plans, everything stopped. And so it gave me a lot more time to really think about and reflect on what maybe I wanted to do. What would the next step be?
Your future.
Yeah. And so instead of sitting around watching reruns of Friends or The Bachelor or anything like that, I just started really reading up like 100% on real estate books, business books, anything that you would find on like Amazon's top 50 books in real estate and business. I just ordered all them all and just read the whole time. So that's kind of then when I was calculating and doing things, again, before COVID happened, I didn't even think I was going to be able to ever afford a home, neither was in California. It just seemed out of
reach.
Yeah, out of the question or whatever. And then I started reading about real estate and how it actually works and what you really need to put down and how you get approved and everything. I was like, oh, hey, I'm looking at my bank account and everything. I'm like, this might actually work. And so I went, called a lender, did everything. And then they're like, oh, yeah, you're totally approved. Oh, yeah, not a problem. Like, oh, perfect. Go ahead. And I was like, oh.
You know, a lot of people experience that. I've noticed that with smaller things. So I'll give you an example, like taking vacations. Okay. Before I started making money, many, many years ago, we had that negative mentality. That's a mentality thing. That's a mindset thing. We used to have that mentality. It's like, I could never afford to go to Cancun, or I could never afford to go to Hawaii. Like, and then you really look at it and it's only like $3,000. And you spend that on a weekend in Vegas, and you go to Vegas every other weekend. It's like your priorities are all jacked up. I think that's what it is. And you don't know what you don't know until you look into it. So I'm glad you brought that up, because a lot of people need to know that. They need to know that it's not always that dark or impossible to get things done. You just have to try, So go ahead, keep going.
Yeah, so I mean, that's kind of how it started working. And I thought, oh my gosh, I can actually buy a home. So I got in touch with an agent, a friend of my mom's who's an agent, and we went over everything. And also at the time, because at that time I was living in West LA, because that's where my office was. I was living in Marina Del Rey. And my family, my parents are a little bit older, and my dad's health declined significantly from like before COVID. He was working and driving and everything before COVID, and now he needs 24/7 to be watched 24/7.
Was that because of COVID?
No, just his disease and illness just progressing significantly. So I knew I had to physically come back to this area more, because the drive from West LA out here constantly was starting start to really like get to me. And then there was like obviously no quality of life, like, oh, you live at the beach, great, but big deal, you never even can go anymore or enjoy it. So I was like, no, I need to move back here. And then I decided, if I was going to move back here, I'm not going to rent. No, I'll own something. And so that's when I decided to just start the journey of buying my first home in real estate. The only thing is, I was fascinated when I saw my agent doing the negotiations, because I bought in the height of this whole boom, where everything was like moving in like hours. So like the house I currently bought was on the market for, I think it was like 6 or 8 hours before they accepted my offer. So it was in the middle of the craziness with that, and I just was fascinated when I saw all the negotiation part of it, because I didn't understand, obviously, the contracts of it. I had no clue. And then I just started really reading and researching. And once I then basically purchased my home,
you were hooked.
The interest didn't stop. It just kept growing.
So then what was the next phase of your real estate journey? Because I know you bought some more properties. So how did that come about?
So then when I was sitting there and I'm like looking at things, I just started like watching YouTube videos, following people on Instagram and things like that, and just getting little snippets from different people. I'm like, oh, that's something. Well, I don't know, maybe that's something else to look at. And then I started really like researching. I bought several books on wholesaling, and I just read them like cover to cover. I'm one of those people that just have to like read everything first, understand it thoroughly, and then I just jump in. And so that's basically then what I did. And I was doing that part-time on the side, still working full-time, everything like normal, nothing changed. And then what really propelled me forward, I started going to a lot of these like real estate, like networking events, and a lot of the conferences, and like Vegas, the big, the ones like Thrive and some of these other ones they have. And at that point in time, it was like just the energy from the people and like the can-do attitude, instead of like having the self-limiting and self-restrictions that a lot of people put.
Mindset.
It was like intoxicating, I guess you could say. And I was like,
it's enlightening. I went through the same thing. It's enlightenment, and it really, really opens your mind to like what's possible and what you can do. And you think people get the perception is like, oh, being rich or trying to get rich is like, it's bad. it's really not, because what you're doing is you're worried about your future and you're worried about I have kids, right? So I'm worried about my kids. I'm worried about my kids' kids. I'm worried about my legacy, not for me, but for my family. And that's what those events do. That's what mentorships do. That's what reading books does, all that. So I'm glad you went through all that. How fast after, when did you start buying your properties, and how did you find them, and how did you stumble on that marketing?
Yeah, so the marketing part for me was a little bit different. So in my previous role, we leveraged relationships and networking so heavily. So I applied that same formula into kind of like the wholesaling and the investing side. And that's where I went very heavy on. Attended every network event, everything, passed out my card. I don't know how many business cards I had made, flyers, everything, just getting my name out there. I even dressed up at the Halloween fair in downtown Upland as Belle, and attached to candies, put my cards saying, you know, I buy houses.
That's the hustle right there.
Yeah, I was out there.
That's the hustle.
And then it was great because I was taking pictures with the kids because they thought I was the princess.
And you were drawing in the parents and stuff.
Exactly. So I got from there to two hot leads alone. One of them landed. So that was just from setting up and passing candy out. A lot of word of mouth. A lot of people word of mouth. Friends that decided to move out of state.
So did you end up doing that deal?
One of them, yeah. Yeah, and that was in the desert, high desert out of Barstow area.
You wholesaled it? Mm-hmm. Wow, that's amazing. That's an amazing story.
So, I mean...
You had the drive, though.
Just getting from anywhere. Yeah. Posting even on, on Craigslist, on Instagram, on Facebook.
And you were going hard. You took massive action. You were going hard. Mm-hmm. That's good. That's good. So, how many deals did you do in those 2 years before you joined my organization? How many deals total did you do?
Well, I started actively doing real estate September, I think it was September of 2021.
Okay. So it took you almost 2 years from COVID?
Well, because I didn't start researching it until I actually started buying my own home. So I moved into my home in June of 2021. Okay. And then action started happening seriously September of 2021. Gotcha. So, and now we're June, the end of June, beginning of July, 2022.
Been a year. So how many deals did you do total?
What is it? 1, 2, 3, 4. So the 4 on the wholesale, and then now another 4 for acquisition. Holding it, you know.
Yeah, holding the deals. So you've done a total of 8 deals. You wholesaled 4 of them. Let's talk about your wholesale deals real quick. Was your first one the one that you got in the high desert? Mm-hmm. That was your first one. How much did you make on that?
About $10,000.
$10,000, but that was just no marketing.
No.
Just being out there and being crazy. Number 2, where did you get that deal?
That one was actually a referral. So I reached out to people that I knew before that were in like land development, I guess you could say. Mm-hmm. And that was in where was it? South Orange County, not Costa Mesa. Oh my gosh, I can't forget. Not San Juan Campus. Oh my gosh, what is the name of that city? I can't even remember the name.
So it was in Orange County.
Yeah, South Orange County, near the beach. And it was a land wholesale deal to a builder.
Huntington?
No. Oh my gosh, my uncle lives there. I should know the name of the city. I just blanked.
How much did you make? You're not going to forget that.
That one was closer, like $25,000.
$25,000.
It's still smaller, but I mean,
I was
stoked.
That's a good rip. That's our average. Yeah. We're averaging about $30,000 a deal. Yeah. So we get some that are 10, 15, 20. Mm-hmm. We get some that we closed like a week ago, 64,000. You know, so it's not about that. It's about volume and consistency. And like in collections, we have a saying: twos and fews till we get the big news, right? So it's like saying, you know, you're gonna get base hits, the home run will come. So how much? Where was
San Clemente? There we go. I knew it. Why did
That's a nice area.
Yeah,
that's a really nice area. Where did you do your third deal?
Inglewood.
How did you get that deal?
As another lead referral.
So these were all just
everything.
Your social circle.
Just constantly, yeah, and then reaching out to tons of agents. I made it a point to call about 10 agents a day.
Wow, that's a good marketing strategy.
And then just say, I want, any pocket listings. This is where I'm at, and then I would again attend all the real estate networking events to find all the end buyers.
Okay.
So it was just bringing those two together.
Your fourth deal?
Arkansas.
That was your last wholesale deal?
Yeah, the last few have been out that way.
Okay. How much did you make on those?
Those ones are all like 5,000 or under.
Small. They're smaller.
Small. Yes, very small.
The markets.
Yeah.
The markets. Okay.
But they're just super easy to acquire.
And sell?
Selling's a little bit harder. Disposition's a little bit harder. But you have to just get into like the local Facebook groups. And then that's where you find the...
I want to talk about that for a second because it's important for the viewers to realize this. In this business, acquisitions get all the glory. And it's really, really difficult to close a deal. So you guys deserve all of the credit in the world. But you can't make money if you can't sell the deal. So I think everybody in this business underestimates the dispo side, selling the deal to investors. Without selling the deal, no one gets paid. And you just said something right now. You said it's harder to sell deals in those areas, right? It's hard to sell deals in a lot of areas. So that's why you have to have your dispo team needs to be just as strong as your acquisitions team. So for any viewers out there that are in real estate wholesaling, they need to understand that. Your dispo team is just as important, if not more important, than acquisitions, because you can get a deal eventually, or you're going to be able to sell the deal, right? So on your holds, you got those same thing. Were they referrals? The ones that you're holding on to as building your portfolio?
Yeah. So what I did was because I knew so many people, family and friends and so forth, were moving out of California. I said, well, hey, you guys, this is great. I can now go into other markets because I have boots on the ground. I'll give you $500 each for any deal that actually, that closes either which way. And so I have now people kind of just pinging me all the time. Good. Like, hey, here's this address. They obviously, then I have to do the skip tracing, look them up on PropStream, do the whole thing, reach out to the seller. But it pivoted me into areas that I would have never even knew really existed or where the opportunities were. And then so that's kind of how that grew. I
really like your story because it's very inspiring to those people that think it's hard to get in, or they think that there's only one way to do it. There isn't. There's a million ways to skin a cat, as they say, right? So how did you find me? What attracted you to us, to my organization, to me as a leader? How did you find me? What was it?
Instagram. I was like
Instagram.
One of the Instagram stalkers. Yeah, you were organized under a lot of the different people that we're following regularly on like real estate and things like that. The other funny thing is, now this is weird. I was telling Hector the other day, I saw your car, the Lamborghini, the Cali Hustle, like maybe a year or two ago, driving around somewhere. And I was like, oh, that's a cool license plate. I wonder who has it. And then I just walked by, nothing. And then I saw it again in an Instagram store. And then it was like, oh my God, it's mine. Yeah, there we go.
That's awesome.
So that's kind of where...
That was God knocking on your door.
Years ago. Hey, this was before COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was ways, time ago. And then... and at this point in time, so the real estate side for me was like kicking up, and then everything with my last government role was starting to slow down. And then I was like, maybe I should just take the jump and the leap because I have so much more natural energy and enthusiasm for this, which I don't have anymore. That was a
great decision. So I think you've seen me post, and at that time you seen me post that I needed in-house acquisitions, and you figured he's in Upland,
that was
a hop, skip, and
what
a jump.
What are the chances?
Yep.
And I just moved
you took it as
9 months
you took
prior.
it as a calling. You took it as a calling. So I will say this. When you joined my organization, I was struggling on the acquisition side. I wasn't struggling to get deals. I was struggling to scale. I was at a plateau where we were only doing a few deals a month. And the key to success is scaling at a good pace consistently. Because if you close 10 deals and then the next month you close 5 deals, you're not consistent. So if you close 10 deals this month, 10 deals next month, then hey, the third month, let's shoot for 12. Then let's shoot for 12 again, or 13 or 14. So that's what I was in the process of doing when I reached out to find talent, And I think you Ulysses, my brother, I really think you were heaven sent. And we were meant to help each other, right? I was meant to kind of open your eyes on what's really possible if you have some structure, organization, and direction. And I honestly needed some serious talent to join my organization to help us grow quickly. So what was your experience like coming on the first week?
Ooh.
Were you scared? Were you nervous? Were you...
It wasn't so much scared. It was just trying to learn like the new parameters, the new way of working, because it's so different, so extremely different than what I had to become accustomed to, especially dealing with government, where there's so many rules, regulations, boundaries, and systems that you have to fall into. So it was just getting comfortable with the CRM system, because I was doing everything through Excel. You know, as a one-man show. So the CRM system, and then just getting really comfortable with cold calling, because that was something I, again, was shying away from when I was doing it. I was doing everything through networking. So every lead that I got was already kind of warmed up and
friendly.
And they were referred to me. So they were like, oh, we heard about you. Like, oh, we would love to work with you. Yeah. Oh, this is easy. Yeah. So just getting used to getting beat up a little bit more, and then the change and pace of negotiating, because that was very different in the government world than it is in this world. So
yeah, you can't. Okay, so I'll touch on those things so that the viewers understand. So number one, we gave you organization and structure. Number two, we showed you marketing channels that made you uncomfortable. That's the truth. Cold calling cold leads, even though they're supposed to be warm, it's a hustle. Right? And it's uncomfortable, and you have to get used to it, or you're gonna take a beating, like you said. And then number three is working at a fast pace to be productive and to get things done at a high scale. So I think that's basically what I showed you, what we opened your doors to. And then we also gave you a lot of training that you probably were missing because you didn't need it. You didn't need that type of training. You were doing the next door neighbor, Southern handshake type of sales, where it's like, hey, we have a mutual friend. This is different. These are strangers with no introduction, where you're pushing yourselves onto selling them. So it was just apples and oranges compared to the way you were doing things. So in 2 months, I know you started catching fire the last few weeks. How many deals have you locked up in the last 2 months?
I think it's been 9, and I'm 2 more, hopefully by the end of today. Hopefully by the end of today.
Yeah, we specialize in selling the hedge funds. Right now, they stopped buying, or they paused, and they're coming back with super low offers. So we're adjusting on our dispo side. But I think now, as we were discussing a little while ago, I think now with our very aggressive marketing strategies, where we're attracting more motivated sellers. Number 2, your skills right now, your skill level is through the roof. You guys all my acquisitions are just amazing. I can confidently say that I think I have, if not the best, one of the damn best teams in the country right now. And number 3, with the market crashing, I think it's leaning sellers to not be so stubborn. And we're just on fire. I mean, we got like 10 deals this week already. So we're on pace to start averaging, 10 to 15 deals a week. So that's amazing, and that's thanks to you guys. So I want to thank you for having faith in me, in my company, in my skills, and for really trusting me as your leader, because I consider this like a partnership, right? I consider you guys part of the team. I like to say it's not my company, it's our company. I'm just a name on the door, right? And it's my job to make sure we don't all, crash. So I want to really, really thank you on YouTube in front of everybody for having that confidence in me. And I'm not going to let you down. I hope that we make a lot of money together. And I hope you're happy for years and years. And I hope we can stack each other's portfolios to where we look back in 10, 15 years and we're like, damn, we did some serious damage in a little bit of time. So thank you.
All right.
I appreciate you so much.
Thank you.